Well, happy Friday and happy Dune Day. I hope you left out some spice liquor for the Mahdi. Yes, Netter and I went to see Dune, and we're going to be talking about it tonight. I saw two Harkonnens walk into a bar. The third one ducked. What did we have for dinner? Well, I had a laser, a shield, and a cow. So charbroiled burgers. So just a warning, I'm going to answer all of your questions about the film. So if you aren't prescient enough that you are concerned about spoilers, you have been warned. All of the rest of you, the Highliner is boarding. So strap in. Here we go. Okay, yes. Yes, you're half right, Boomer. I did have to pee. But I also had to get a drink.
Not in that order.
Actually, I did. I went pee and then I got my drink.
Oh, okay. All right.
And just so you know, in honor of the spice melange, I am having a straight Fireball cinnamon whiskey. Actually, I am pouring some for Netter too because I know she happens to like it, although I will probably pour her more than she will drink, and I will end up finishing hers off. She's going to be joining us in just a second. And what you sipping on, Boomer?
I got a cherry Coke.
No kidding. Oh, that's pretty cool. Like Cherry Coke brand Cherry Coke?
Yeah.
Good stuff, isn't it? It's one of my favorites.
I have it in the bottle. It's a plastic bottle. What can you do?
Yeah. What can
say
you
hi
do?
to your chat, though. They've been waiting patiently for
I
you.
know, guys. I super appreciate y'all so much. And, you know, the first one I'm seeing, I don't know for sure, but I'm going to give it to the first person I see, and that's Big Al of Big Al Presents, who says... let me see if I can actually bring stuff up on the screen. I'm being the boomer tonight. How do I switch? Oh, wait.
You got to click on
Banners.
the comments.
Add to stream.
Oh, there's Netter.
There's Netter.
Hi, Nanette.
Hi.
And I kind of already told him what you're sipping on. Give me a second, guys. I got to figure out. Well, there's the comments. And, yeah, so we got Big Al first. Bless the maker and his water. Bless the coming and the going of him. May his passage cleanse the world. May he keep the world and his people. Big Al, I'm probably going to be chat. I may even reference your video. So if you feel the need, if you want to come in and join us and talk with me about this movie, because I know you saw it because I saw your review, you know, you're certainly welcome. That is assuming you're still here. I don't know if you are. Daniel, what? Have you seen the Robo Skull Kickstarter? You're going to have to help me out, Daniel Heron. What's Robo Skull?
Is that a toy of some sort?
I'm presuming. I don't know. I need more info on that. Wolf 10 Media. I've seen it. I'm hungry for more. Yeah, we'll get to that specific point in just a second. Matanui. Hi. Oh, wait. I know nothing about Dune. I'll be going. Oh, you don't have to. Well, I mean, how do you not know about Dune? It's a 56-year-old story that's had 2 other film adaptations. I mean, there's not much to spoil here. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, Leia plus size. Oh, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in a very, very long time. You are most certainly welcome here. So good to see you. And of course, we got hi to Team Ghost Planet 3.0, Melissa Harrison Sons. So glad you could make it. And have I caught up on the chats? And of course, Netter is in there hitting all the highs and the hellos and how you doings. So yeah, wow, what a night. So I have been struggling this week. We've had some guys in the house doing some work on a couple of our rooms. It's it's actually been a miserable 2 weeks for me, and I've just really been struggling. And tonight was the worst because I said, look, I got these tickets. The tickets are for 6:00. We need to go. And they're still here. And so it's like, guys, close up when, you're done. We're going. Goodbye. And,
I dig Outlaw in the house.
oh, hey, did I miss you? I am so sorry. Or did he just get here?
Just got here.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, my chat's a little bit behind, but thank you so much. I think I am alone here, but I am not in love with the Dune movie. It was not that great to me. Okay, so you did actually see this most recent iteration of the Dune film. Is that correct, Leia Plus Size? So anyway, yeah, so we get there, we only missed a couple of the previews,
No.
Yeah, and the ones that we did see, oh my God. So we saw the preview for The Batman. Yeah, I'll pass. I saw the.
I do like the Penguin in that. The actor they have, Colin
Yeah.
Farrell, right?
Yeah.
Unrecognizable. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine.
Completely unrecognizable. Love the accent that he affects.
Yeah.
That was really good. I'm not sure I really liked the makeup,
Right.
but that was about the only thing that I even found partly interesting.
Yeah, it's not one I really have high hopes for, but you never know. Like I say, I'm not a huge fan of the lead, but we'll get it.
I honestly, this has gotten to the point where they just keep rebooting and rebooting and rebooting him. It's time to stop, guys. Come up with something else. Do something better. It's Courtney, Fellowship of Oddballs. So glad you're here. I'm so glad. If you've been waiting, I'm really, really sorry. Like I said, I'm kind of going through, what my evening has been like. It was just nuts. And then, 2.5 hour film, right? And it takes up literally every minute of that. As soon as the first credit rolled, I said, we're out of here. This isn't a Marvel movie. Let's go. So we head out and get home. And we live right next to a high school. Okay, and I think we've mentioned that a couple times. So it's Friday Night Lights, right? So we got the cops literally outside of our driveway, directing traffic and whatnot. So I'm like, screw it. I'm not going into the school. I'm turning into my house. I go to turn in, and there's the truck for the work guys still in my driveway. I almost run right into his ass.
Oh,
so I
wow.
literally had to go over the curb to get out of traffic because I'm on a busy street. Drive up my grass around the front of him to get into my driveway. I'm right now not a very happy camper with what's going on in my home. But give me a second. I'm going to take a drink. I'm going to calm down a bit.
So anyway, I also saw a movie this week, but
What did you see this weekend?
I saw Halloween Kills.
I have not yet seen, but then again, I have not seen the other Halloween movie that I guess is just called Halloween. What is it? It goes Halloween, Halloween, Halloween Kills. What the heck kind of a stupid naming convention is that?
Okay. The reason they probably called it Halloween was I don't know why they just called it Halloween. You're right. It doesn't make much sense, especially since you already had the Rob Zombie Halloween that was also called Halloween. Anyway.
It's honestly getting bad when I literally have to print out, and I've got it right here. I had to print out an infographic to follow the continuity of these damn movies. So for those of you that aren't like really dyed-in-the-wool Halloween fans, this is how it goes. You start with the 1978 Halloween, the classic, right? And just as you would expect, you go Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween. You can go Halloween 3, even though it's kind of not continuity with the rest of the films. Halloween 4, Halloween 5, and then Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Why they didn't bother going ahead and calling it Halloween 6, I don't know, but I don't really have a problem with that. Those movies all go in line together. Then, in 1998, they decided they were going to reboot the series, but they were going to ignore 3, 4, 5, and 6, and it was going to be Halloween 1, Halloween 2, and then Halloween Water 20 years
H2O.
later.
H2O.
H20. It's got to be H20
Like
because
ID4, Independence Day, that's what it's supposed to be.
it's like
And then
Fan4 stick is what it really is. Okay, so Halloween H20 and then Halloween Resurrection in 2002. So that's a second completely separate timeline, okay? And then you've got Halloween 1978 leads into Halloween 2018, which leads into Halloween Kills, which will eventually lead into Halloween Ends. That's a third timeline, all with the same first film. And then you got the Rob Zombie two-parter that's
It's a reboot.
completely separate, which isn't any good. That Rob Zombie thing?
I didn't care for it. I do like, is it John Forsythe, that actor? I'm trying to remember. He's good, but I don't know. I didn't care for it. I get that he was trying to make it more grounded. In fact, oddly enough, the 2018 one, the Rob Zombie movie, do like the exact opposite, where like there's more of the, I guess, mysteriousness of Michael Myers in the 2018 version, as opposed to the Rob Zombie version, which tried to ground it and give him an origin and make him a kid. You got to see the kid before he went nuts. And
Yeah.
anyway, it was just I'm
kind of late to the well, on a night like tonight, I'm late to the party no matter how you look at it. But when it comes to Halloween, I'm late to the party, and I'm just kind of because I've only seen Halloween and Halloween 2.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Halloween and Halloween 2. Those are the only two that I've seen. So I am now kind of getting them all on DVD so I can get caught up.
You don't
have to watch them.
What?
Netter says I'm not going to make her watch them, and I
No.
and I said you don't have to.
I have to admit, we're here to talk about Dune, not Halloween, but I'm just saying.
No, that's okay. We're kind of
too much time.
No, I started late, so we need the primer
Dune
get
yet.
us going.
I would have rather seen Dune. I don't have the hatred for Halloween 2018 that a lot of people do. I didn't. Again, I think it's an unnecessary sequel.
Yeah.
But I thought the ending was kind of interesting. I'm not going to spoil it if you ever decide to watch it.
Oh, I am. I'm
setup for what Laurie Strode was trying to do. It was interesting. I thought it wasn't a perfect movie. There were things I liked, things I didn't like. This latest one's terrible. It
Halloween Kills, you mean?
Yes, it falls back into. It reminds me of all these bad Halloween sequels we got, like after 3. That's what it reminded me of, except worse. But
we're gonna have to talk about reboots, remakes, and alternate things, especially directly in relationship to creators getting their rights back, because that is really going to be framing films going forward. I think as we get more and more into Friday the 13th, we're going to be talking about in the near future, about Friday the 13th and the rights issues being taken care of and straightened out now.
I'm done.
I get
do
that.
More horror movie reboots. I'm done.
I'm with you.
This Halloween killed it for me. No pun intended. Okay, Halloween killed it for me.
I understand, but
I can't deal with it. Make new stuff.
The fact that it happened, though, the lawsuit and everything is absolutely going to affect all of the entertainment industry. You're going to see it play out with the Marvel situation. We've already seen it play out with Hellraiser. So we can talk about this on another stream, but we do need to address this idea of original creators getting their rights back to things and then having every right, I think, to make their money on it how they see fit. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good. I mean, look at George Lucas and his special editions, but we can talk about that more in the future. But this is funny. So Courtney says, I went to summer camp in Blairstown, New Jersey, where Friday the 13th was filmed.
But she's never seen Dune.
You've never seen Dune, Courtney? Okay, that's fine. But we are going to get into that tonight. So,
can I ask a general question about this remake?
Absolutely.
Now, granted, I know it's fresh in your heads, and sometimes it takes a day or two for someone to form their opinion on something. But
yeah.
it depends on the movie. Is this a better adaptation than what we've seen on the Sci-Fi Channel and the original one from the '80s, the Lynch version? Is it better, or are you still mulling about and don't know yet?
Better than Sci-Fi? Yes.
Okay.
Better than David Lynch? I am not prepared to say yes on that just yet.
Well,
It's because you don't have the second part yet?
I really like the David Lynch version. Well, the first one I saw, and it seemed to be really true to the novels. The one we saw this evening had some differences, and I'm not sure if I should mention any of them.
Well, I did warn and you know what? Let me do the formal notification. If you have not read the description for tonight's video, you might want to check it out, but I'll give you the Cliff Notes version right now. Yeah.
If you don't want spoilers,
yeah.
Sorry, bye.
This is a 56-year-old story, guys. This book has been out there for a very long time. There's already been, before this, there's been 2 different adaptations made to film. So if you haven't seen it by this point, I'm sorry. There should not be any spoilers. If you haven't seen it by now, it's kind of your own fault. What?
It's Courtney's Fellowship of Oddballs typo. She said, the original Dune is David Lynch. Was I born in a barn? How did I not see it? Then she corrected, Dune. Yes, the original Dune was David Lynch.
Yeah.
So what I found interesting in this one is, in the original David Lynch one, they had blue eyes. And I thought it was kind of cool. In this one, it's like if they had brown eyes, you could still see they had brown eyes, but it seemed like they took, in post-production, like a blue gel to put on the whites of their eyes. It looked a little weird, and I didn't think it followed the true blue-eyed, spice look that David Lynch portrayed at all. Troy's thinking otherwise because he kept
not really
said something about it before.
But before I do comment on it, I did want to address Courtney Fellowship of Oddballs says I loved Blue Velvet. Let me tell you guys something. Most of the people here know this about me. I am a huge David Lynch fan. I really, really am. And over on the Twitter tweets, Orville Nation posted a completely unrelated post. He posted a meme. I don't remember what it was about, but it used the picture of Laura Palmer in school crying. And that was the point of it. And I made some comment on the meme and I said, oh, and by the way, if you ever do a video about Twin Peaks, I'm your guy, without a doubt. And I mean that. If any of you YouTubers out there decide you want to do anything about David Lynch or a Twin Peaks,
he's the expert.
I definitely am. I may end up in the future doing a Friday night just dedicated to David Lynch. But
Orville Nation's in the chat.
Orville Nation is in the chat. I was just talking about you. Didn't even realize you were there. You must have felt your ears itching.
And Deleted Scenes is also in the chat. Hi there.
Hi, Deleted Scenes. How you doing? Yeah, so Orville Nation, I was just telling him about your meme, and I don't even know what it was about, where you used the picture of Laura Palmer, and I said, hey, by the way, if you ever need somebody to guest on your show about Twin Peaks, I'm definitely your person. Yeah, I am a huge David Lynch fan. Not only do I have both versions of the of Dune, his version of Dune, but I've got most every movie he's done, including the Lime Green Box, which has some of his short films that were only released there. Eraserhead, all of Twin Peaks in multiple versions. All of the so-called EU type stuff, like Laura Palmer's Secret Diary and the audio tapes of Dale Cooper, stuff like that. I am a huge fan. But yes, let's get back to Dune.
Hold on. In going along with that, we're also Facebook friends with Jen Lynch. his daughter.
Well, she is. I'm not Facebook friends with anyone but Netta
well,
right
I
now.
am.
But yeah.
She's actually
Yeah,
pretty
she,
cool.
Jennifer Lynch, who's the one that actually wrote Laura Palmer's Secret Diary.
And didn't she do Boxing Helena?
She did Boxing Helena and a number of other films. She's kind of followed in her father's footsteps. But getting back to the David Lynch thing and the eyes specifically, yeah, you got to kind of credit Lynch with doing the best that he could with what he had to work with at the time. And the blue within blue eyes of the David Lynch version were very, they were of their time. They did the best they could with the whole, rotoscoping kind of thing. So what that means is in long shots, there was no blue in those eyes. You had to get really close to see that element, because I think it was like, I don't know if it was painted in by hand or if they used some kind of an early version of a CG. I don't know. But yeah, this new one, I kind of liked it. Netter points out that on the long shots, you still have this problem of not being able to see it. I don't care what their technique is for giving them blue eyes, unless they're doing something practical where you have this huge contact lens covering their whole eyeball. It's got to be either in the computer or some other kind of after effect, and it's never going to be perfect, right? Especially at distance. But there was a couple scenes where it was close up, especially when they were in good lighting. And I was like, it just looked so natural. The way the blue in the white part of the eye was like a little bit darker around the edges, and there was variation. It wasn't just like a gel over the eye kind of a thing. I don't know.
That's it. The one tonight, I really felt like they, in post-production, they did like a blue, like a real bright blue gel like over the whites of their eyes. And slightly over like Zendaya's brown. There was just like a little bit of blue there. But you could still tell her eyes were very brown and she had blue on the sides. So yes, Orville Nation, we did see the new Dune tonight, and that's what we're talking about.
Yep, and you got here later than we did. We actually started the stream about 15 minutes late, specifically because we were coming directly from the cinema, and I had to get the stream together and everything, so I'm kind of behind the 8 ball. But what I want to know from the stream, all, I guess, 8 of you, is there anyone that has a specific question they want to ask before I jump into all my spoilery spoils, if you consider them spoilers? I mean, there's a lot of stuff we already knew. We saw a lot of scenes that were taken, that showed up in previews and so on and so forth. Oh, okay. So Courtney's saying, yeah, she still has to see the original. Read the stuff. Yeah. Spoil away. Okay. So we already knew going into this that it wasn't going to be a complete story. This is not the entire book of Dune. And it starts out in the very beginning, in the very opening title sequence. It says Dune, Part 1. So that we knew.
Well, no. That you might have known. I didn't know that.
Okay.
I didn't find out until...
That means you haven't been listening to my shows.
Listen to you prattle on and on.
Yeah, I know.
After a while, you kind of tune it out.
I get it. I don't blame you. I'm sure most of the chat does too, but for as long as they stay on and keep my algorithms up, I super appreciate it. But yeah, so we knew that it's only half the story. Vinny Villeneuve really did understand, as I think David Lynch did too. You really can't get that whole book down into one movie if you want to do it justice. So he's splitting it up over 2 movies. The first one being 2.5 hours long. So assuming he does the same with the other, it's going to be a 7-hour, 2-parter. That might come close. That might do it. But just as David Lynch made changes, Vinny Villeneuve made some changes, but I think his biggest changes were what I feel he left out. There is some things. And I'm going to get a little bit, like I remember when Lord of the Rings came out and there were these diehard fans saying, well, there's no Tom Bombadil. This sucks. They didn't get Tom Bombadil in there. And some other fans were like, well, they can't get everything in there. If they got to cut something out, Tom Bombadil's the thing to cut out. Well, there were some elements that were cut out of this too that I think were kind of Tom Bombadil-esque, and I'll talk about those in a little bit.
And I'm sitting there going, who's Tom Bombadil?
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's not that crucial. Well, unless you're a super Tolkien fan and I've just offended you, I apologize. But you know what I'm talking about, right, Boomer?
Tolkien.
Fuck you, man. I knew you were going to say that. Son of a bitch. I should have known.
I saw the Tolkien movie, and there's a scene when he's in the classroom, the teacher goes, J.R.R. Tolkien, and he goes, Tolkien, sir. You see? There you go.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because
we all pronounce the Tolkien for decades, and then they finally say, no, it's Tolkien.
Okay, I'm older than y'all, and I was raised that it was Tolkien.
Yeah.
Tolkien.
Yeah, you're closer to right than we have.
I read The Hobbit when I was 4.
Yes, you did. Let me real quick say I just saw that Catman, a.k.a. Dee Dee Myers, just jumped in here. Super appreciate you for being here. And we are now entering spoiler territory because, again, I assume that if you were interested in the past 56 years, you've already read the books, or since the 1980s, you have seen the David Lynch version, or, you watch that sci-fi thing, which was pretty good, but still, So, let's face it. Both David Lynch and the sci-fi series, even though it was a miniseries, suffered because they tried to squeeze too much into too short a thing. Vinny Villeneuve, takes a little bit more time. This is where I'm going to have to disagree with my friend Big Al of Big Al Presents. Please go to Big Al Presents, subscribe, and watch and like his review of Dune. I personally think that the pacing was perfectly good. It was a 3.5-hour movie that went by like that to me. It seemed like it was kind of action-packed through the whole thing. And the one stylistic thing that I loved that unfortunately I don't feel that David Lynch did as good a job with, David Lynch did a lot of tell and not show by giving us huge exposition dumps. He does a whole exposition dump at the beginning. Then he gets the Princess Irulan, giving her narration at the beginning. And then you get more exposition. Then you get Paul reading his books and we get more exposition. And then his teachers come in and we get more exposition. And this is just David Lynch trying to give you all the backstory about the whole world. Vinny Villeneuve does a great job of letting you pick it up on your own as you go, if you will.
Well, see, one of the things that got me is in David Lynch's one, when House Atreides came to, this world, and they saw that the water's being sparingly given out to the servants around, or they would get water off the ground that was spilled, and she was like, no, make sure they all have water. They didn't show that kindness in here.
I caught that too. I'm glad you brought that up.
Because it just showed how kind-hearted they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did like, though, that when they're in the desert, and what's the dad's name again?
Leto.
Yeah, when Leto was like, screw the spice, get those people on our planes right now, and they're like, wait, you're leaving behind that spice? They touched on it just a little bit. It wasn't like in the David Lynch one where it's like he gave up all that spice. See,
and that is an artifact of the way David Lynch had those voiceovers where you got to hear the character's inner monologue. And Liet Kynes in the David Lynch version was like, he cares more for his people than he does the spice. I like this Leto.
That also brings up another point. The music was so loud when they were doing their whispery scenes, I couldn't hear them.
Yeah,
I was whispering something, but I have no idea what any of them said.
I don't know if you're still there, Birdman, or if you zonked out. But if you're listening to this tomorrow or the next day, I did send you the link so that you could listen to the soundtrack. I really did not like how they used the soundtrack in this movie. The sound effects were excellent. The surround sound elements were very enveloping.
Oh yeah, it's like my chair vibrated when the explosions went off. But the music was so loud you couldn't hear a lot of dialogue.
Very distracting. And it wasn't even music. It was just mood elements, and I felt it distracted more than I'm sorry. Hans Zimmer, in my opinion, a little hit or miss, and I felt like this one was a miss.
So you prefer the score to the original movie? The Lynch one?
I do. Yeah. If you gotta have music. Actually, I could have seen them get away without music in this. The way it was as far as atmosphere goes. Really. But I don't know. This is the kind of thing I'd really love to get. Oh, Daniel Herron is here. Still awake. I haven't been able to. I just jumped.
5 minutes. You haven't been able to make it past 5 minutes.
Oh, of the music? Okay. See, what does that tell you? This is Daniel Herron listening to just the score, not watching the movie, just listening to the score, and he hasn't been able to get through it. So that's kind of saying something. There's such a thing as vibrating chairs. Courtney, it's not like the Tingler, but there is that element where this heavy bass from the speakers kind of reverberates through the cinema. At least it did for us we saw it in IMAX. I do recommend seeing it in IMAX. It definitely was.
There were a couple of times that the vibration was making my pants leg move. And I thought something was brushing up against my leg, and I kept putting my hand on, going like, what the frick is touching my leg? Until I realized it was just the vibration making my pants leg move.
Okay, so Leia plus size, you're basically agreeing with me on this point, or I'm agreeing with you. The soundtrack was not the best. And I would not be surprised if 3-4 years down the line, some fan does a fan edit of this movie and put in the Toto score from the Lynch film.
One other thing is, the scene where the Duke has been captured and he's got the poison tooth, and he gets the fat dude. I can't remember these people's names. To come close to him, and he bites and blows out the gas. People on the other side of the room were dropping before the gas could possibly even get anywhere near him or near them. And then it's like when the guys in hazmat suits come into the room, fat dude is up on the ceiling, and it's like, okay, gas rises. He should have been on the floor like a dead fly.
Courtney, it's not as bad as Nanette makes it sound. But in a way,
I don't like the Harkonian, so.
Well, you're not supposed to. That's an excellent point. But yeah, it was very interesting. Harkonnen, the Baron uses his, gravity suit or whatever to float up to the ceiling, and it's like he's trying to find a pocket of air to survive, and basically he does. Now this leads to one of the differences. There are some differences in this film that I liked, that I thought were very clever on Vinny Villeneuve's part, and very insightful. One of them is, after the Baron survives the assassination attempt, the next time we see him, the Beast Raban goes to report to him, and he's in like a tub, like a Bacta tank in Empire Strikes Back, right? Some sort of healing thing, and it's being administered by these funny-looking, bald, waif-like type beings that speak a different language. And you know what? I think they were Ixian. And the Ixian are not introduced until I think it's the third book. So I think that's one little element that Vinny Villeneuve had the foresight to do. He's like, you know what? Frank Herbert didn't even invent the Ixians till later. This is a complete universe, and we have the ability to look at all the books and project back. So I saw that, and I was like, that's very clever.
I also like the bit where Paul's having some sort of vision after having been around the spice for the first time, and he's talking with his mother, and he goes, I know you're pregnant. She's like, how can you possibly know that? I'm only a few weeks along. And he just kind of looks at her like, duh. And you taught me the ways.
Well, and this is specifically because this is the first time he's cognizant of the fact that he's prescient and he sees the future, right? Now, those of you that read the books, you wouldn't know this from the David Lynch version or anything else, but in the books, Paul is able to see possible futures. He sees the whole of future history laid out before him, and he's able to choose the path he wants. His son later will choose the golden path, speaking specifically to that, the future that he has chosen that Paul is afraid to go down. I'm spoiling movies that haven't even happened yet.
Something else that's interesting about his intuitiveness is that he's in the training room and his instructor comes in. He said, never have your back to the door. He goes, I know your footsteps. And then later on, when they're in the desert rescuing the workers that are about to be eaten by the worm, he's kneeling in front of one of the machines, and the instructor comes up behind him to grab him to pull him onto the plane, and he whispers, I knew your footsteps. Before
he touches them. Yeah, that was a great little thing, because now he's not only recognizing Gurney Halleck's footsteps, but it's in the sand when there's a big roar of a sandworm coming. I mean, it's pretty damn impressive. It's a little thrown in element, a little detail that you got to credit to Vinny Villeneuve, because it doesn't come from anywhere else. But what was I I kind of lost track. You kind of threw me off there. That's fine. No, that's fine. That's fine.
And we were also discussing after the movie that the doctor had that symbol on his head.
Oh, right. So I did want to touch on some of the elements that are not in the movie, that are the Tom Bombadils. Okay, the things that are left out that I'm kind of bothered by them not being there. Okay, first, as long as we're on Gurney Halleck doesn't have a balisette, doesn't play an instrument. We don't see it at all. It's not crucial, but it's a little element that it kind of bothers me, because there were so many other little background things. They didn't even have to show him playing the balisette. If he had just been carrying it at one point, like during the move off world or something, it was never there. But what they did show was they showed the bull bust or whatever that was hung on the wall that killed Paul's grandfather. So those kinds of elements made it, not the balisette. There was no dinner scene. Now, honestly, there was no dinner scene in any of the film versions, so I can't fault it too much. But the dinner scene from the book, we get a lot of really great, I guess you could call it exposition, but you get a lot of that great backstory. And I just feel like when you are doing half of the story in 2.5 hours, really, why are you cutting out anything, in my opinion? The whole plot about the traitor, the intrigue, Thufir Hawat suspecting Jessica, all of that was dropped. You don't suspect that there's a traitor. Well, I guess the first indicator that there's a traitor is when the hunter seeker comes in to kill Paul. But the idea that there's someone there in their ranks doesn't even come up until Dr. Yui, reveals himself, and I'm like, oh, that was kind of a missed opportunity, I feel like. Oh, and speaking of Thufir Hawat, there is no explanation of what a mentat is. They don't mention that Paul is trained as a mentat. You do see what Thufir Hawat is able to do, because there's this one scene where when the Herald of the Change arrives in the drop ship, and they're all going through the formalities, the Duke says, how much did this trip cost for this, formality? And his eyes go pure white, and he does his calculations, and then his eyes come back, and he rattles off however many millions of, monetary value it was. But there's no explanation of, for the audience, just one line of exposition would have explained what a mentat is and why they exist in this world.
They showed the cute little desert mouse, and what I thought was
interesting
cute
is
that they actually showed it sweating, and then it kind of put a paw, grabbed one of the sweat drops, and sucked it in real quick.
Which actually is exactly the way desert mice behave. So I found that to be a nice little, real world kind of add-in.
And that kind of went in with when Paul was watching the film strips for the desert planet, and they were talking about some plant life that they grow really deep roots, and he stood up to look at it closer because he saw something, and he sees a little desert mouse in between the reeds. I'm like, oh, that's so cute. And so it kind of connects the two.
The Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohayim, her lines about the Bene Gesserit and the Kwisatz Haderach are given by Jessica. That's a minor change that I suppose makes it seem less like exposition, because in the book, faithfully interpreted by David Lynch's version, it does come off very, tell not show. It's much more natural coming from Jessica, and it's another opportunity to show Jessica as the teacher that taught him his skills and so forth. Those are probably my biggest issues with what was missing, what was omitted, in my personal opinion, from the story. For those of you that are wondering, I know other outlets have mentioned this before. Fade Routha is not shown at all. He doesn't even appear once, which makes sense. Through the narrative, he wouldn't have. He's, unimportant. So, in fact, the Beast Raban gets his due, which I don't feel he did in the David Lynch version. And let me tell you, the Baron Harkonnen comes off as a very smart, very evil person.
That's what Stellan Skarsgård, correct? Playing?
Yes. Oh my gosh. If that's fat makeup they put on him, they did a phenomenal job. Oh my gosh. It looked so natural. When he's coming out of that pool and you see the rolls under his chin and his shoulders, I'm like, I could not tell. I mean, this was not, like Michael Myers, fat bastard. This was good.
They've gotten better with that kind of makeup. Have you seen Gary Oldman as Winston Churchill in Darkest Hour? That was really good.
You're right. Yeah. Now that you mention that, yeah.
He could have also put on weight for the role. That happens sometimes too.
But not this much.
Yeah,
not
I'm suspecting they were.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if they waited to film his scenes after the lockdowns, maybe. No, I'm joking. But yeah. So those were the changes they made that I did not care for. As far as hey, Mr. Matchstick, how you doing? Big Al's back. You weren't here when I said hi to you initially. if you want to jump in here, I would be willing to send you out the link so that we could talk a little bit, because I know you've seen it. You've already done a review. I've already plugged your channel and plugged your review, but, I think it bears mentioning again.
It's like my last thing that I can think of at the moment that was kind of like, really? That's how it's ending?
Yeah.
Is when Zendaya's character just goes, "This is just the beginning." When I was like, okay, wait, where's the bit where he picks his name of Muad'Dib?
Yeah.
That was really missing for me, and for me, it just left it flat. So I didn't like the ending.
I've been hearing that from a lot of people. They don't like that they're only getting half a film. But I
think it could have ended with them going, you're one of us now. Choose your name, like they did in the other one. And he goes, that mouse in the desert, what's he called? They're called Muad'Dib. I will, that's the name I've had. You are now Paul Muad'Dib. Yeah. And, left it at that.
So.
But they didn't touch on it at all.
So, what was I? Oh,
Name.
I did. So yeah, I personally going into it knew that it was only going to be half the story. So I was prepared for that. I liked the fact that, that Chani, she gets the last line in the film, and it's, this is just the beginning. I really felt like that was Vinny Villeneuve kind of giving the audience a wink and saying, we're just starting. This is going to get a sequel. Don't worry, guys.
Yeah, but I still felt they should have ended it with him getting his new name.
Yeah, I know. And that was my question, too. And that was actually Andre's question on Midnight's Edge. Does it end, where they first meet the Fremen, or does it end after he gets his name? But that does lead me into one of the changes that they made that I really liked. Okay? So now we know that Paul, and we know this from the book, we know that Paul can see alternate versions of the future. Think about that for a second. We all tend to think about what it's like for Paul to see the future and act on that that knowledge, right? If you could see the future, you'd have a great advantage. But now imagine you could see all possible futures. Information you can get from an alternate timeline that you wouldn't get from your own. Think about that. Boomer, take over, because I got to send a link to Big
Okay.
Al.
Wait, you want Boomer to take over? You don't even ask me, and I'm sitting right here.
He hasn't said anything because we keep talking over him.
No, I haven't. I'm just listening right now. So Nanette, any trailers that you liked before the movie started while we wait for Troy to come back?
Not really. I saw the Batman one where it was kind of like he's trying too hard, and there was another one that was kind of like the X-Men, but I forgot what it's called. But I didn't like that one either, because okay, been there, done that. How many times are you gonna rename these same?
Oh, the Eternals.
Heroes?
The Eternals, yeah.
Yeah, it's like how many times are you going to give a different name to the movie, and it's just basically the same characters? It's like, no.
Yeah, I get that.
Those are the only two I saw because I decided to use the bathroom before the.
That's right. She did. She was smart and ducked out. I had to hold it for 2.5 hours, and I kind of was willing to do it. But then once I got here, I had to send you a note, and as you very astutely pointed out, I had to pee. That's because I held it for 2.5 hours.
Well, that's also because I'm not dumb enough to hold it for 2.5 hours. And it's like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit there.
I was glued to that screen
because it's too distracting.
Yeah, I get that.
Did you like the acting?
I loved the acting. I don't think there was any actor in this film I did not like. Let me tell you something. What?
I didn't like the skinny guy that took care of the fat guy with the thingy on his lip. He was too simpering.
She's saying she's referring to
Yes,
Piter.
translate.
She's referring to Piter de Vries, who honestly got almost no role in this. He had like 2 lines.
He was like a total toady instead of being
Is-
a little bit more masterful like he was in the original one.
Was he played by the actor who played one of Ant-Man's friends in the?
I have no idea because everyone that works for the Harkonnens is shaved bald. So that's one thing. And he's just really skinny and really, really
I think I know
pale.
the actor. If it's who I think it is, he's a really good actor who I hope they do expand his role because he's a really good actor. He had a brief. I think I know who you're talking about. I haven't seen the movie though, but I think I know the actor you're talking about.
I'm really struggling with David Bautista right now. He's been shooting off his mouth on social media, and I'm getting to really dislike him. But honestly, everything he's been in, I've loved.
Yeah.
He played the Beast Raban perfectly. When he was in Blade Runner 20 whatever.
Great big intro scene in that movie.
Excellent. Excellent. So I really can't fault him for his acting, if I'm being truly intellectually honest, right? I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the dumb broad's name that played the Lady Jessica
Ferguson. Jessica.
Yeah, she's a fucking idiot, in real life, but she did an excellent job in this role. And you know what? I credit a lot of that to the director, because part of a director's job is knowing the strength of your actors and using it. It's really, really amazing. I gotta look something up real quick. So, I'm trying to find out who. I should just say actress, right? I can't remember who played the. Oh yes, Charlotte Rampling played Gaius Helen Mohiam in this film. And what's interesting is all of her scenes, you don't really see her face because she's wearing this black veil. But what you do see is her eyes. And it's brilliant. A good actor acts with their eyes. There's also some great scenes with Jessica and Paul where they're wearing their still suits and all you see is their eyes. And they still can emote very, very well. So this whole idea that Iron Man has to take off his helmet just, for you. No, not always. A good actor can emote through makeup, through armor, through a mask, through whatever. That's part of acting.
Yeah.
I don't always have to see your face, And let me tell you, when I hear your voice, that's acting too.
Oh, definitely.
But, yeah, I can't believe I actually forgot Rampling's name. I mean, she's big time. She's like, British acting royalty. But
yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, Courtney has to run. She says wishes you a good night, though.
Oh, Courtney, thank you so much. I hope if you were interested at all, I hope you come back and listen tomorrow or whatever. But gosh, I really loved having you here. So anyway, yeah, I was starting down the path about seeing alternate futures and gaining knowledge from that. And what's very interesting is we see some of the dreams and visions that Paul has of the future. He sees Shani in his dreams. He sees images of the future. They kind of played around with the trope of seeing something that happens in the future and misunderstanding it. It doesn't work out exactly the way he predicts it. Or he thinks, there's a scene of Shani taking a knife from him, and there's blood on her hand, and he's been injured, and he thinks from his vision he believes she stabbed him, and that's not how it turns out at all. But we do see the fight, and I'm drawing a blank on the character's name. Maybe someone in the chat can remind me. He's challenged by one of the members of Stilgar Siege in a fight to the death. And, this is in both of the previous film versions. And one of the... Jamie's, yes. Thank you, Deleted Scenes. Wow. Johnny on the spot. That was brilliant. Jamie's and okay, guys, you know, you got it. Matchstick, you got it too. Jamie's challenges. Actually, what he does is he challenges Lady Jessica, but under, the Fremen's law, she is, an honored Reverend Mother, so, or, they recognize the Bene Gesserit, whatever they call them in their language. So no, you can't. He says, well, then who will be her champion? And of course, Paul has to step forward. Now, up to this point, Paul has been having visions of Jamie's in an alternate possible future where Jamie's is his friend who teaches him how to survive in the desert and teaches him all kinds of very interesting wisdom. So in his mind and heart, he's kind of got a kinship with this guy he's just met who's challenged him to a fight to the death, And that's an interesting idea that I don't believe was in the book. It hasn't been in any previous incarnation. I think this is something that Vinny Villeneuve added, and it works really well. However, I feel that they missed the opportunity because after he kills him, I mean, it's a great scene. You feel for him. He's killing his friend here, right? Because he has to. And as he's dying, he gets down on his knees and holds his hand as he dies. It's very touching. And I am not embarrassed to admit that I gave water to the dead at that scene. I really did. As does Paul, because he gets up and walks away and a tear comes down his face. In the book and in the David Lynch version, people notice that he's crying. And that's when they say, oh, he gives water to the dead. And it's explained in the book as, and the line comes up here in this movie. Jessica says he's never taken a life before. And it's made out to be like he's crying because he's never taken a life before. But this elevates it. He's taken a life that was someone that could have been his friend in a possible future.
Oh.
And he remembers that friendship of the future, Hey, Big Al, how you doing? Oh, you're already set for tomorrow's rewatch.
Hello.
How you doing, my friend?
I was having a few issues logging on. Sorry.
No, don't worry about it. We were chatting, talking about some of the differences. I don't know how much of it you heard if you were having difficulties and whatnot, but
I heard some of it, and like I said, you're pretty spot on in what I saw. I think I was a little harder on it in my review.
Yeah, and I didn't want to come off as though I was disagreeing or challenging you or
you can disagree all you want. I don't care.
No. I mean in a negative way. I didn't want to poo-poo. In fact, I've totally said people really should also kind of go and listen to your review as well on your channel and at least give it a like and whatnot.
I think where most people get the fact that I didn't think it was God's gift to the cinematic universe, that a lot of people got a little offended by that. Yeah. I think I was holding the book maybe a little higher than I wanted. And like I said, and Nanette really, I think, nailed a great point. They ended it they should have done that little thing where he picked his name. If they had done the thing where he picked his name and there was this like big cinematic crescendo, and it ended on that, I would have come probably away from that a lot. I
am having a really hard time disagreeing with her on that because,
to me,
I did like the ending, but at the same time, I totally get her point, and I'm kind of proud of her for making it.
Yeah, I think when, for me, beautiful film. The design is spot on.
Right?
Characters are great. Stellan Skarsgård is fantastic. Um,
The special effects, if there was CG used, I couldn't tell when CG was used and when it was practical effects.
Yeah,
That was amazing.
the special effects are really solid. I just think for me, where it lost a lot was, like I said, the ending just left me cold.
Yeah, I did.
And I think that's probably where I was feeling really good, and for some reason, I think that I just felt let down at the end there, and I think that affected a lot of my thought. And I stand by that. I don't think they ended that film the best way they could have.
In fairness to Vinny Villeneuve, though, I suspect he intends you to have that feeling, because I think he's basically saying, "Hey guys, I didn't want to cut it off here, but they made me."
Yeah.
So if you want a sequel, whatever kind of thing.
But I thought that it would have had such a better punch if he had chosen his name, and they stood there and there was this big crescendo of Paul becoming the man,
Yeah.
and that would have been like, oh God, that would have been so awesome. And not having that, I really think I was just like bummed about that. So that really affected it. But otherwise, the film is a beautiful, great achievement. It dragged in a few places. When the worm was attacking the harvester, I really thought that there were some parts of that just kind of, I was like, yeah, I just wanted it to like maybe.
That was where I wanted to ask. That was the main thing that I wanted to get you in here to talk to you about, because it seemed like your biggest problem was the pacing, and I think you missed it because you stepped away for a little bit. I was saying that this was the one area I think I disagreed with you about the pacing, because I really felt like that 2.5 hours was full. Like that. In fact, I still feel like there was some elements that were left out that bothered me. That, come on, you could have found some way to insert a line or add that or whatever. But now that you mentioned the sandworm scene, I guess I can kind of see it. But I didn't feel that it was like a long stretch where I like fell asleep or anything like that.
No, not at all, not at all. I thought that would have been a great. I lost the sense of urgency during that scene because it was taking so long. I didn't feel like they were rushed to get out of there because the worm was about to swallow them whole. I mean, I knew it because I read the book, but I just didn't get that sense of urgency from them. But overall, and it was just little simple things like that. I think the deal with Liette Kynes was lost. I would have liked to have seen a better death scene.
It's you're right, because in the David Lynch version, and as in the book, they destroy his suit and send him out into the desert.
Right. And I think that would have been more effective.
I was expecting that, to be honest with you, but I got to be honest with you, kind of like the idea of, I mean, think about the line. I only answer to one, and that is Shai Hulud. And then she beats the ground.
Yeah, I actually really like that.
See? Yeah, Nanette really liked that. That was a change I could kind of get behind.
Because then she also took the idiots with her. Mm-hmm. They were like, hey, what's happening? And then they all
it does seem to give a little bit more agency to Liette Kynes in a way, you know.
So
I respect Denis Villeneuve. I thought did a fantastic job. You could tell he respected the material. It was just a few things that I was like, and you were talking about the fact that they had Lady Jessica recite the "Fear is the Mind Killer."
I loved the fact, and
I didn't like that. I wanted Paul to do it,
but I found it interesting that this is where I disagree with a lot of the people that have critiqued this. Fans, Dune fans, not like, official critics, saying that they felt she was too emotional. I didn't get that at all. I thought she did a great job of portraying the kind of emotion I do expect from Jessica. Remember
that was her son.
Yes, and these Bene Gesserit are not without emotion. They fear and they love and they, are prone to panic, which is why the litany against fear exists, right? In fact, it was here's one thing that was interesting in the scene where Paul is the whole Gam Jabbar thing, right?
Right.
Jessica is outside and Nanette leans over to me and she says, "Is she feeling the pain he's feeling?" I said, "Not exactly. She's remembering when she went through it,"
right.
Which I thought was, again, show not tell, right? We know from the book, if we read it, that she went through it. She resents Helena Mohiam for doing this to her, and now she's doing it to her son.
But what was interesting is she's out there and she's whispering something, and he could hear her. And at one point, he's like looking down, and it's just from the pain, and then he just brings his head up, looks at the old bat right in the eye. Like
that's the interesting thing. He doesn't actually hear her. He's remembering what she taught him.
No, but whatever it was, he just lifted his head, looked at old bat in the eye, like, bring it on.
That was another. I'm glad you reminded me of that. That was another thing that I felt elevated it from. Not to take anything away from Kyle MacLachlan, but
right. Timothy Chalamet is Paul Atreides.
Yeah. He did a great job. And Nanette asked me about that on the way home.
I had no issue with that actor at all in his performance. To me, he is and will be the best choice for Paul ever because he looks the right age,
right?
But he also has
right,
which he's supposed to be. Remember, these are desert people. They're supposed to be skinny.
Yeah,
they are raw bone. The strength is sinuous.
But wait a minute, he came from a water planet. Not a desert planet.
But he's still a young, growing boy.
Yeah.
So he's going to be.
And I did point out
into his manly body yet.
Yeah, I was going to say he has plenty of time to grow into this role. I mean, there's really no doubt about that.
But like I said, I just wish I had heard him utter the fear is the mind killer. Instead of her doing it. I almost felt like that's not her line. It's supposed to be Paul's line. And I had an issue with that. There were just the little things that I had wrong. I think they just
you're going all Tom Bombadil on it.
Yeah, it chinked a little bit more than I would have liked.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like I said, the cast, the entire cast was fantastic. I wish, like I said, there were just a few things, like some of the pacing, and it feeling like it dropped off at the wrong point. Those were my biggest things. I mean, those were my biggest issues, and they just took a bigger chunk out for me. But for those who haven't seen I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Those who hadn't seen my review, I gave it 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's good.
My book is good. There are not a lot of 5-star films out there. I could maybe consider 10 of them, and 6 of them are Lord of the Rings and Star Wars films.
Yeah.
So the other ones are like Gone with the Wind and stuff. But 3.5 is a 3-star film is a good solid film. 3.5 is a very good film. 4, you're really getting into excellent territory. I still hold Greenland. I still thought Greenland was fantastic. Yeah. That's why I gave it 4.5. I was shocked how good that was.
I do want to go back to Nanette's point, because I didn't comment on this before, and I think it's a very important one. That was the one element that was missing. That, I mean, I could forgive all of the other, what I call Tom Bombadil moments. But the one that Nanette brings up, I think bothers me the most, and that's the whole thing about showing that they were different from the Harkonnens by, the whole tradition of, wiping up the water from the ground and, squeezing it out at the back door. No. From now on, everybody that comes to the door at dinner time will receive a cup of water or whatever. That was huge in the David Lynch story, in the original book, and that one element is missing, and that's not good. That is probably the biggest thing that endears the Fremen to these off-worlders are different from those off-worlders,
Right. But I could somehow, and like I said, I know you got Wolfie who wants to come in, I think.
Sure.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I won't keep it because plus I'm doing a video, waiting for it to
Upload,
export and all that other
export,
stuff.
yeah.
And I gotta go back. It shouldn't be long. I'll have it on before I go to bed.
That's fair.
But I think the biggest thing is I responded to a guy who basically tore me a new one because I
I saw that. Yeah,
I dared only give it 3.5 stars.
I saw
The
that.
greatest cinematic achievement of our since Lord of the Rings. You dare? Did you even read the book? And I'm like, yes, I've read it several times in a book study. And the thing is, it's a very good movie.
It is.
I wanted great. I wanted excellent.
Al, let me
And
ask you this.
It just had a couple of. It had about 5 issues that just chicked away.
Let me ask you this, Al.
Sure.
Let's assume,
Okay.
and I'm assuming this, that there is going to be a sequel. Okay, and we'll get the full story.
I think they pretty much
Yeah.
said they will do it. Yeah.
Let's say that the second one comes out and it completes the story
Right.
in at least the same level as we have now. Do you think that might change your opinion of the first movie?
Yes.
See,
Very, very much so. And that's the thing. I think I would have been perfectly happy if it had ended the way Nanette said. And that's really what it was. If they had just a more I mean, that's
Yeah.
it just stopped.
yeah,
And I did not like that. And that bugged me more than anything. That probably took a full star for me.
yeah.
Right there. That to me was.
Would it have been
probably my
different
biggest
for
issue.
you? And I'm asking.
And I really wasn't able to put a finger on what was bugging me until actually Nanette said
Nanette
it.
said
You're
it,
right,
yeah.
It was how it ended.
So I want to pose this question to both of you, Al and Nanette. Do you think that if you had known going into it, both that this was only half the story and that the sequel was definitely coming, say, next year, do you think that would have changed your opinion of how the movie ended?
No, it still should have ended with his name.
Okay.
I have no idea.
You feel very
ended.
firm about that.
She's 100% right. It should have
Okay.
ended with him choosing his name, because that would have been like the end of the child, and the next film would be the development of the man. And in this one, it just kind of leaves it.
It was
hanging.
important.
And it is, and that really is what. And I'm not, like I said, I really like the film. I just have these little niggling issues that bug me.
Yeah, I did.
And that's really what it is. And like I said, if someone thinks that, oh, this film is so fantastic, great. It really is. It just that there were just about 5 things that kind of just that just nag at me.
I'm kind of feeling like this is kind of like
But sorry.
No, go ahead.
But I think you are right in saying if and when, I'm going to say when they
when, please.
when they complete the arc
Yeah.
of this film, and you watch it from beginning to end. It'll be from like a Lord of the Rings rewatch, the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
That's what's going to improve the first part. They just did not end it well. They ended it They ended it 10 seconds too soon, almost, or it would have been more than that. But I will admit, Nanette, you are 150%. That's exactly what it was. It bugged the hell out of me, and I wasn't able to put a true finger on it. They should have. They did not end it well. But I will say I was shocked. It even made me appreciate Momoa.
I know, right?
Because not only
He
do
was
I
my
think,
favorite character in this.
Right?
because not only do I think he did an admirable job, but I got to watch him die. Which is awesome. Just when I watched Batman the Little Boy, I got to watch
That was.
Batman die.
Am I mistaken, Al? That was another change too? The whole fact that Paul foresaw his death before it happened. That wasn't in the book, was it?
I really don't remember.
I don't think so.
I don't really remember.
Well, something
But
that's
I
a little
will
confusing
say,
is when he saw the vision of him, he was sitting with some people kind of just like laughing and talking, and they goes, I saw a vision of you, you died. And he's like, and I'm looking at it going, wait, that's not what he saw.
No, because we didn't see the vision yet. We don't actually see that vision until he has it again later.
yeah,
But we definitely did get a great establishment of the friendship that they had.
yeah, and like I said, for those of you who may be listening who don't get my thing about Momoa, it's a whole thing. I met him once, and it was the best experience. But
Kind of like what I was saying about Momoa and Ferguson, right? I mean, you may not like these actors, but you can't fault their role here.
Yeah, I can appreciate what they do. I'll say everyone across the board did a great job.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I just think they ended it at the wrong place, and there were several scenes I thought dragged a little more than they needed to.
And hey, what about Poe Dameron as Duke Leto?
Fantastic.
Oh my God! Right?
Well, Oscar Isaac is a great actor anyway.
He was wasted in Star Wars.
Yeah,
actors were wasted.
Everybody was wasted.
What was that?
They had Max von Sydow in The Force Awakens. They didn't.
Yeah,
they
killed him in the first 5 minutes. Let's not even mention that anymore. See, and that's another example of a film that can change depending on the film that follows.
I was thinking exactly that. That's why I asked the question. Yeah.
Whereas I like Force Awakens, and I still hold that it's a decent film. Last Jedi really sucked the life out of it.
Yeah.
And I will hold Last Jedi wasn't a terrible film until I saw Rise of Skywalker, and then it made Last Jedi even worse.
You verbalized something I didn't even realize was true until I heard you say it. Because honestly, and I can be honest about this, when I saw The Force Awakens, I was like, let's see the next movie. This could be good.
Yeah, it was like a comfortable pair of slippers. You felt good.
And then you saw the next movie and you're like, oh, fuck it all. I'm done.
And it's like you put on your comfortable pair of slippers and then you dump coffee in your lap.
I mean, it would almost be like, can you imagine, don't actually do this, but can you imagine if the next Dune film, like, completely deviated from the books and was all kinds of shit and, social justice bullshit out the yin yang, and you'd be like, the fuck,
Well, they, like I said, it was one, when the word came out that they were gender twisting Liette Kynes, I was a little nervous, but the character is really insubstantial when it comes down to it.
Not only did the gender change not matter with that character, they never even established a connection between Liette Kynes and Shani. And honestly, I'm not sure they're going to. They may not.
Which would be stupid, because that's the whole point. That's one of the whole points of Cheney. I mean, it's I don't know. Like I said, though, but Nanette nailed it.
Yes, she did.
100%. She's taken a big spike and a big golden hammer. And
One more reason
kaboom.
why you guys know I nailed her down for marriage as soon as I got a yes from her.
Yep, and I always see the girls after they've already found somebody else. I need to find mine. Darn it.
There you go.
But yeah, but I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna finish my video. Thank you very much for having me.
No, thanks for joining us. I'm gonna
just a quick little self promotion thing.
Please do. Yes, I was gonna ask you.
You see my avatar tomorrow night, Phantom of the Paradise. I was all set for it.
Phantom of the Paradise.
I thought I wouldn't even bother changing it. I would just leave it. So yeah, Phantom of the Paradise tomorrow. My channel, Big Al Presents, at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Joined by everybody who's on screen right now.
That's right. That's right. Okay. See you tomorrow, buddy. Take care.
Thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody in chat.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Big Al.
Okay, bye-bye.
And we're going to bring Wolfie in just a second. I just sent him the link, and he needs a second to actually see the link and go ahead and click on it.
And if you hear a whirling,
it's in MeWe, by the way, Wolfie.
If you hear a whirling noise right now, it's like they're doing the last of the cleanup for the...
Yeah, it's 10:37 here, and we still have these guys here working on the house. Look, I want them done and out of here because you know what? Guys, you don't realize Nanette and I have been sleeping on a futon in the basement for the past 2 fucking weeks. My back is killing me.
Hey, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like creepy in the basement?
No.
We fucking live out of our basement now. So
I'm just
no.
saying, is it like ghostly? Is there ghosts and stuff?
Yeah, it's our family room. It's half finished, half unfinished. So the finished part is our hangout area.
Okay. I am just drunk enough to get into this conversation that you just brought up, H. Boomer. So Nanette, talks about the spirits that she's aware of in the house, and I try to ignore that. But the one spirit that I am aware of in the house, which kind of hurts my heart, is our departed cat, Mischief, who has on occasion scared the fuck out of me by doing shit in the corner of my eye here in the basement. And it's like, you son of a bitch, you're no better in death than you were in life.
Especially when he first passed, he would hear him meow and kind of like see something like he was running.
I'm like, fuck you, you son of a bitch. And then he'd jump up on the... I'd fucking feel him jump on the bed and wake me up. I'm like, you son of a bitch. You know that bothers the hell out of me.
Well, he was curling up by me, not by you.
It doesn't matter. He still woke me up, son of a bitch. Troy, you house being repaired. Yeah, we're actually. I thought maybe I didn't tell this story. So Nanette has been using one of the spare bedrooms as an office, and we had some rains back a while ago. And I did mention earlier we live on a main street, so the trucks go by and kind of rattle the house. And we had this situation when we first moved in, where the ceiling of our front room caved in, literally, like a week after we moved in.
Okay, let me give a little backstory.
Yeah,
on that.
go for it.
So usually when people leave the house, they go through the garage and they drive away. Well, I'm a bus person, so I used to open up the front door, kind of feel how cold it was, put on my layers because I'm a Chicago girl, and then since he was still home because we just moved in, I'd yell goodbye to him and close out the front door. Well, every time I close the front door, it would shake the rafters just a little bit. And our house was built in 1968, so that meant that they didn't use drywall.
We have a ranch frame house. Okay, so it's a little bit thin walls.
So after about a week and a half of me leaving for work out the front door, I noticed that there was a crack in the living room ceiling right off of our kitchen. I'm like, we're gonna have to do something about this. And it was like just after I came home from work. So we're down in the family room hanging out. We go up to bed. It's now hanging down about a half a foot. I'm like, yeah, we really got to take care of this. the next morning it was down 1.5 feet. I was like, yeah, call somebody about this. That morning, what I used to do is I'd open the front door, like I said, feel the temperature, close the door, put my coats on and leave. This morning, I had opened the front door, checked the weather, but I didn't close it again when I put my coats on, and I just yelled goodbye to him and left out. I got about a mile away from the house, and he calls me, he goes, come home, the ceiling's on the floor.
Yep.
Now, we were having roofers coming the very next day to give us a brand new roof. They thought they did it.
Yeah, we're like, no, you didn't do this, but would you guys be willing to haul this out? And for free, they hauled all the ceiling out and threw it in their dumpster,
yeah.
which I thought was really great.
Right.
So anyway, what it was as she said, back in the 60s when it first was built, they didn't use drywall screws or nails or whatever they are. So it pulled through the nails. And that was partly because on top of the drywall that was in the ceiling, there was blown insulation. So it was very, very heavy. Well, we had the same problem about a month ago. Maybe it was 2 months ago in Netter's office. 2 months ago in Netter's office. And it broke open, and I'm like, you cannot stay in here and work. This is going to fall in on you. It's going to crush you. I said, you got to get out of here. You got to get this fixed. And so we called somebody out to have it fixed, and he looks and he's like, you realize if you do this one room, you really need to do these other 2 rooms, the other 2 bedrooms, basically, because you're going to have the same problem, and pointed out a little bit of bowing. So we're literally having all 3 of our fucking bedrooms torn up, the ceilings replaced, light fixtures put in, and the walls painted. It's taken 2 weeks, but it took Nanette almost a month to call somebody and get them out here. So she pulled all this stuff out. And so we really haven't been able to use most of these rooms for 2 months now.
Yeah, and the first guy I was going to use as a contractor was recommended to me by my sister. It's like, he came out, he goes, oh yeah, I can get this done in 4 days. Well, then I asked him for his estimate. And he pretty much ghosted me. And then I text him, go, hey, I still need an extra estimate. He's like, oh yeah, I'll send that over to you. And then nothing. And then he'll start like throwing out a little number. Like, well, to do the lights, it's going to be about this. Okay, it's not what I asked you. I need to know the quote for all
I
3
need
rooms.
the whole estimate.
And so
he
would do, then he finally gave me the quote for 1 room. After 2 months, I finally got a quote for 1 room.
What?
It's like, I asked you for all 3 rooms. What is the issue here? So now that all this is done, I'm going to write him a very, very strongly worded letter saying, this is the most unprofessional, you're the most unprofessional person I've ever had to deal with. It's like, every other contractor I've had come look at it had either given me a quote within the hour, or they gave it to me the very next day.
So the bottom line is, for the past 2 weeks, we've had these guys out. They're doing a great job. Don't get me wrong. Besides, today really annoyed the hell out of me. But I have literally been living in the basement. I go upstairs to go to the bathroom, and that's it.
And eat.
And yeah, I go to the kitchen to get food. Otherwise, I work, I sleep in the basement. And it's driving me up the wall. I'm getting stir crazy. I'm going nuts, especially after all the lockdowns and the bullshit. I'm getting ready to kill somebody. Okay. Anyway.
Deleted scene had to leave.
Oh, I'm sorry. Deleted scene. If you're still here, thanks for being here. If you're not and you catch it later, I just wanted to let you know I super appreciate you being here. Sorry I missed that. I was distracted. But now let me bring in my buddy, Wolf10 Media. Wolfie, how you doing, my friend?
Doing really good, Troy. Just got off of work.
You got off of work. You work in a movie theater. Is that where you saw this movie?
No, we don't get it till like a month after. Maybe a month or 2.
But you have seen the movie.
Yeah, yesterday.
So you literally went to another theater that you don't work at in order to see this movie.
Mm-hmm. Sorry about the noise in the background. The wife is cooking something.
Dude, I got construction going on over here. I'm not going to give you any shit. Come on.
Just letting everybody know in case anybody asks.
I dig it. Thanks so much. So tell me, what did you think of the movie? Go for it.
I'm still on that theater high right now. Like, I was really happy.
Did you see it today or yesterday?
Yesterday. Like,
okay.
we went early screening.
Okay.
And I was kind of livid because somebody brought a baby to our theater.
For fuck's sake, when you're spending $20 to see a movie,
like,
come on.
That's the only downside I had with the experience was that somebody of all people had to bring a freaking baby to the damn movie, and you're just hearing the baby just and all that stuff. I'm like, oh my goodness, go.
Let me tell you something. At the beginning of the movie, they had it was an AMC theater, and they said, "Don't do this, don't do that, be quiet." Don't do anything with your phones. Be respectful of other people. And I'm like, fuck you! Don't tell me what the hell to do. I just spent $20 to get in here. I'll do whatever the fuck I want.
It's like in the movie theater, I couldn't quite tell what the fellow next to Troy was doing, but I think he had one of those hearing impaired machines.
Yeah.
And it's like it looks like some weird appendage he had sticking out in front of him. And I was
appendage?
Well, it kind
of looks like a screen on a selfie stick almost.
Yeah, you plug it into the arm of the chair, which happened to be the arm that he joined with me, and he kept.
Asked you if you wanted to move over.
No, I wasn't going to submit you to that. I was just getting.
No, I mean we move over one.
First, you know how this is. You buy the tickets in advance. You got to choose your seat.
Choose your seats, yeah.
And they're fucking sitting in our seat, and I'm like, "Are you supposed to be in N11?" He's like, "Oh, is this L?" Yes. So he moves down, and I'm like, "This is my seat. Fuck you." And he was getting annoyed because I kept moving. Those seats are so tiny. I'm kind of used to the other theater that's got
stadium
the big
seating, that sort of stuff.
Well,
the
no,
wife
I'm
is
used.
Like,
there's another movie chain by us that has the recliners. The big, wide recliners.
Yeah.
I'm kind of spoiled now. So these are like, I swear, like airplane seats. Like both my thighs were up against the thing, and it's like every time I moved, it would move the armrest, and I'm like, I'm sorry, fuck you. You should have bought an extra seat if you wanted space between you and the other person, you know? And Nanette kept saying, "Do you want me to move down a seat?" I'm like, no. I paid for the seat. This is my fucking seat.
Well, the thing is, too, it's like when he said that he got seats for us and they were like the only two that were like together, it's like, I figured the place was super crowded. It wasn't.
I didn't say they were the only two together. I said they were the closest to center.
Here's the problem, too, if you decide, okay, it's okay, and then you go sit down in two other seats and someone else comes in there and says, "You're in my seats."
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't
well, that's
work.
true. That was the concern I had. Now, that's the other thing that I didn't mention earlier on. And I'm sorry, Wolfie, I'll let you talk in a second. Our theater was pretty packed as far as the center, but there was a lot of seats on the side. I'd say it was about half full. But I think from what I've been hearing from people, that's the way the cinemas are these days. And then when you look at how much... I haven't even told Nanette how much I spent on these tickets. I don't want to. She's going to yell at me, and I'm going to end up sleeping on the... I'm already sleeping on the couch. Who gives a fuck? But anyway, it's gotten very expensive to go to the cinema. So I agree with what somebody said on Midnight's Edge today. I think it's going to become a situation where going to the cinema is going to become a bougie kind of boutique thing going forward. Most people are going to see most of their stuff on streaming.
I guess I'm privileged because when I went there, they only charged me $14, and that's only because I was a membership, anyways. Yeah,
I'm sorry. After the experience I had at this theater, I am not going to do any memberships or any of that kind of bullshit. You know.
Well, years ago, I was already set up, so I was already set for life.
Now, see, when I worked in movie theater, I used to get in to see movies for free, so I was like. That was always nice.
Well, that's true.
That comes with the plan if you apply to AMC. They did advertise that when we were seated. Mm-hmm. They advertised if you work there, you see free movies, free popcorn, whatever. And I was like, maybe I should put an application in.
That was the thing I missed out on by getting there late. I didn't get to get popcorn.
Yeah, it's like, well, I worked for Sony Theaters, and we didn't get free popcorn or drinks, but we did get to see the movie for free.
Yeah.
Right. But like, I don't know if you guys have heard lately, but they've been mandating vaccinations at my theater,
Ooh.
and they already got the vaccinations going on at the theater too. And I'm like, I already put in a religious exemption,
Yep.
so I'm basically throwing the dice there on that one because the deadline's November 11th. No,
Yeah.
no, November 22nd, and it's like they've been trying to get me to do it. I'm like, I've already made my decision. So
Hey, Wolfie. I'm pretty lit right now, so make sure you send me a note to remind me later. I will send you a link to a letter written by a lawyer that I follow online. He's written a form letter that you can give to your business, basically explaining why you are not going to be getting the pokey poke, and if they push it, basically implying that you are going to take them to court, and they don't want that kind of heat.
right.
Okay. Just remind me if you're interested. I'll hook you up. Okay.
Any help would be nice, but
You bet.
either way,
I really want to see this used because these companies, I think, are going to. If you like the company that you work for, you're doing them a favor, because I think they are very misinformed about the way the law is going to go in the next couple of years. I think there are some court cases that are working their way up to the Supreme Court that is going to find in favor of people's freedoms, and people are going to be suing their companies up and down, and these companies are going to lose a lot of money. Just saying. So, yeah, Wolfie, remind me, and I'll send you a copy of that letter or a link to where you can get that from. But let's get back to the topic at hand. Wolfie, you have seen Dune. First, real quick, have you seen previous versions? Have you read the book? And then what did you think of the current version?
I was doing the audiobook with the book proper, but freaking YouTube like removed it while I was in part 1 of it.
Oh.
So I had kind of like an inkling of what was going on when I watched the movie. I didn't get a chance to see the David Lynch version at all.
Okay.
But I know what happens in that movie and the differences and changes.
Sure.
I barely saw the sci-fi version.
Mm-hmm.
So like I've been brushing up on my Dune lore before this movie came out too. So I already basically had an encyclopedia ready for it. So I was going through the motions, and I'm just sitting there like, I know I'm gonna like this movie either way because I'm still like fresh into the Dune thing.
Sure.
But then I was like noticing some things that were happening. I was like, okay, this is where they diverged. This is where they changed it. And you guys can run through me the changes because I wasn't here. I was on my way home while y'all was talking about the changes.
Yeah, sure.
But like I know they kept the names the same with the gender swap. I found that kind of odd.
Well, think about it. Liette is not really a gendered name, so
right.
Doesn't really matter.
Aesthetic wise, I loved it. I was like,
right.
There were moments where I sat up and just took in the scenery. Even the the bull. I was like, you know what's funny? That should have been out of place, but it doesn't feel out of place when I looked at it. Like that
I did. Did you notice that they never really overtly talked about the Leto's father and how he was killed by a bull and all that, but you saw the bull head, you know, the trophy being packed up when they were moving.
Yep.
You saw repeatedly the Toreador statue and whatnot. Basically, they give you the story without telling you the story. I thought that was brilliant.
That's another thing I loved about the movie, the visual storytelling.
Yes! Thank you. Yes.
There was a lot of body language being told, and I was just sitting there just drinking it in.
Yeah.
Like, the wife, I really can't speak on her experience. She said she liked the movie. She just didn't. She was still stuck on Wellington being the betrayer, and she misinterprets.
Oh yeah, well,
Jessica,
Yui, yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
Yui's betrayal. She was still stuck on that because I think she has a hate boner for traitors.
But you're supposed to, right?
Yeah,
I
you're
just
supposed
feel like you didn't get enough of the why.
Mhm.
You got the basics, right? They got
Yeah.
his wife. He was trying to get his wife back, but she was already dead. Join your wife, right?
Yeah.
But by not explaining, you know, the symbol on his head and how he was conditioned, he should not have been able to betray Leto, and he did.
Mhm.
That's the kind of thing you could get away with just one line of dialogue, right?
Yeah, one aesthetic I would say I did not like was Vladimir's flotation device.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's the design choice that you wanted to go with.
I
I was
didn't really
hoping,
think
like,
much about it.
I'm
You're
just saying,
right.
I was hoping it would be a spear or maybe a circular device.
Yeah.
That's
See, in the book, it's
cybernetic.
described as something that goes around him. This seemed to be something that was like plugged into his back or something like that.
Yeah, I was
But
like,
I think I understand why they went with this. Think about it from the point of view of the biology of an overweight person. He
Right.
needs to support his body. That's why it's built into his spine, I think.
though I did like Skarsgård's portrayal of him. Oh my
Right?
goodness.
Oh my gosh, he was good.
One look at him and you just want to despise this guy. Like even when he's like taking a steam shower, like the way how they shrouded him, I love that.
And like
Like-
most of the scenes, he either had that long flowing outfit, you know, that hung down when he was floating, or he was effing naked.
Yep. Even when he's taking an oil bath.
Right? In fact, Nanette asked me about that. She's like, I don't remember that from anything else. And I'm like, you know what? That's a new addition. That's implied to be Ixian technology. I said, it looked like, for all the world to me, it looked like some sort of an oil vinaigrette. You know, like it was like a balsamic vinegar in some kind of oil.
Right.
It almost looks. Yeah, that's what it looked like to me.
Was he marinating himself? What are you talking about?
There was right after the Baron. You know, there's the whole poison tooth scene where Leto tries to kill him. He kills everyone in the room, but the Baron survives, and the Baron survives by going to the farthest point in the room, which happens to be on the ceiling, and
Yep.
finding a pocket of air. But he's still injured. So
Because he took a face full almost. The shield
Yeah.
was able to shield it as good as it could.
that was another clever little addition. The Leto is whispering, trying to get him to come close. So before he does, he puts on his personal shield to protect himself. But anyway, this was an addition in this movie by adding the Ixians and a healing bath of some kind. It explains them, you know, helping him to rejuvenate. It's also kind of gross. And again, that's not something that was in the book, but I feel it kind of works. Kind of like Luke in the Bacta tank in Empire Strikes Back,
Yep.
you know?
What killed me was the trailers kept showing the whole movie, and yet you still didn't know what was going to happen next.
Right?
I thought him rising out of that tub was going to be his introduction.
Yeah, I did too. It was very clever. Because, it's like I said, it's a scene that doesn't appear in the book. It's a scene that doesn't appear, you know, anywhere else. So you're wondering, what the hell is that all about? And then when you see it, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, the Ixians. Oh, they don't come up until Dune Messiah. Very interesting. Very clever. I did want to give an aside. For those of you that follow me on MeWe, I posted a video of Vinny Villeneuve talking about, he breaks down the scene of the Gom Jabbar. And talks about why he did certain things that he did. I got to tell you, listening to this and watching it, I think it's fucking brilliant. And it speaks very clearly to a man who very much, we all talk about how, what's his name, who did Lord of the Rings. Help me out here, guys.
Peter Jackson. How Peter Jackson was such a huge fan, and he kept referring back to the book, and he treated the book as though it was holy writ for his movie. I honestly feel, and you know what? Let me go ahead and read this quote. This was what Vinny Villeneuve said in this. It's not an exact quote because he's got that thick accent and his grammar's a little off. I corrected it a little bit. That is a line that is taken straight from the book. There's so many great lines in the book, of course. Every time I had a question or a doubt, I always went back to the book. Even as I was shooting, even as I was editing, as we were composing the music, as Hans Zimmer was doing the music, we were always going back to the book. Reading the book, together, It was like the Bible. It was the holy words. It was the way to stay in contact with Frank Herbert. I have a deep, deep, deep respect and admiration for him. He's one of my favorite authors. I wanted to make sure if he had seen this, he would have felt that love. When I heard those words, I don't know Vinny Villeneuve personally, and I've never heard him speak outside of, interviews about Dune. But I don't believe he's an actor. And he truly made me believe that he felt those words personally, absolutely. And now after seeing the movie, I may not agree with all of his decisions. I've been critical of a couple omissions, but I believe what he says in this video that I shared. He approached art the way I approach it.
Yeah, very much the way Peter Jackson did Lord of the Rings, right? And we as our community is always saying, honor the source material. Guys, if you take nothing away from the 2 hours that we're going to be going a little more than 2 hours now, that we're talking about this, he was faithful to the source material. He really was. The changes he made mostly elevated it. The omissions he made bothered me, but don't detract that much from the story. He did a great job.
Now, y'all can correct me in the terminology. Help me out here. The voice, that there was one mistake I kind of have to critique as well. I kind of wish they had the way how they practice it in the beginning, which is it's like this half muted speak. And then
so what you're describing, let me for those of you who haven't seen it yet, there's a way the voice is described, and it's not really described that clearly how it sounds in the book. All it is it's a Jedi mind trick, right?
Yeah.
They tell you to do something and you do it. And if you get the words right, it's a psychological trick. It makes you do it before you even realize you've done it. Kind of like a hypnotism, right?
Or you use the voice.
That's what I mean. That's the voice, right? In the David Lynch version, if you recall, the character gives a command, and then it kind of reverberates and echoes, right? And the person kind of, in a zombie-ish kind of way, does what they're told. The first time we see the voice is Jessica telling Paul to use the voice on her.
To pass him a glass of water.
Make me pass the glass of water to you. Because it's part of his training, and he almost gets it, but then we see it effectively done by the Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohayim when she tells him, "Come here and kneel down." And honestly, if this had been described to me, I wouldn't have considered it a spoiler, because until you actually see it, you can't experience it. But it's...
If y'all have ever seen The Preacher, he uses the voice of
Yes,
God,
it's
and
kind of like
that.
the voice there.
You have no choice but to obey it.
But that's the effect. But what was interesting was visually, you see her say the words and you hear nothing. And then you hear the echo. And Paul, you see it from Paul's point of view. You don't see him moving like a zombie trying to fight it. You see his eyes kind of glaze over, and then suddenly he's dropping and kneeling in front of her. Like he's dropped into
a camera trick for that.
Yeah, like there's been this narcolepsy that happened, and he wakes up and he's done it. And he looks at her. And this is a little deviation from the book, because in the book, just like David Lynch's version, he resists. Whereas here, he kneels and he says, "How dare you use the voice on me?" And what's interesting is he's not using the voice on her, but this actress is just brilliant. She has this moment like he's resisting in a way I haven't seen anyone resist. And she doesn't say that, but this is what comes through just in the look that she gives. That's good acting, and that's good directing, in my opinion.
She's still an old cow.
Yes, and again, another example where you're supposed to dislike a character, and so they did their job.
Netter did a good job.
Netter feels very visceral about hating villains in movies. She will stop liking actors because they played a villain in a movie.
Or they cut up or got somebody's collectible cards all bloody.
She still has not forgiven Samuel L. Jackson for that. Let me tell you.
You don't play around with somebody's collectibles.
I love you so much for that, because you super appreciate that. But for crying out loud, he's just an actor. He didn't really destroy anything of anybody.
Never touch a black man's radio, boy.
Right?
They were in his possession, so he must have done it.
Yeah. No, you're right. In the story, in the movie, that's what he did. But Sam Jackson didn't actually do anything to anybody.
My headcanon was those were Tony's dad's cards when he died. That was my headcanon. Oh my
gosh, that's brilliant, dude. See, this is what bothers the hell out of me about what we do, because we are exposed to all these great fan theories. And they're so much better than most of what we get from the writers in Hollywood, you know? Anyway.
By the way, the actress's name is Charlotte Rampling that played Hyam.
Yeah, I mentioned that at the top of the hour, and
right.
Again, I was bugged because I love her in everything I've ever seen her in, and I totally forgot her name. She is brilliant. But then again, haven't we basically said every single actor in this movie has been brilliant? They may be dumbasses off-set, but on set they were brilliant.
Oh, you are not kidding. There are times I would like for Rebecca Ferguson to shut the fuck up, because I want to like you again if I ever decide to.
I know, right? And the worst thing is, I felt she was the best casting, and then I saw her in this movie, and I'm like, dude, Lady Jessica ought to be the MILF of the year, and she totally is, right?
Yep. So she has to make it about sexism. I'm like, no, that's not what Dune's about. That's what never ever book before then was about.
This is one of those examples, and I said this on Geeky Geezers too when we were talking about this. You know, just shut up and act. You are obviously too dumb to understand what's going on. Just listen to the director, repeat your lines, and shut the fuck up.
I'm like, lady, you kicked ass in Mission Impossible. I liked you in that movie. Don't make me hate you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know these slacktivists that have their And that's the worst part about it, right? Because anybody who's a fan of Dune is already totally behind the message, right? Yeah, women power, I dig it.
I was glad Villeneuve didn't listen to her suggestions.
And let me tell you, Wolfie, I'd love to hear your opinion on this. Don't please. If I don't mean to tokenize you, and you're my friend. If I bother you in any way by doing that, please let me know. But
Dude,
because
I haven't shown my fangs at you. Relax.
I know,
Say
man.
what you guys
But
say.
but you got the dark skin, so I trust you to be my guide in this
My
kind of
complexion
thing.
is caramel, mind you.
Okay, fair enough. Darker than me. It's darker than me.
I'm just saying, from where I'm from, they don't like my kind either.
I dig it. But my personal feeling on it was when it comes to, like the whole diversity thing, they totally hit it in this movie. You've got all the different skin tones. Hell, you even had an almost albino black dude in this movie, for crying out loud. But you hit all of them, and I swear to you, there's not a single one of them where I was like, why are you casting a black guy in that role? Nothing, none of it bothered me at all.
I like Leah.
I honestly, this was what I suspected going into the movie, and now having seen the movie, I can confirm this. The gender swap of Leah Kynes was fucking meaningless. It clearly was Vinny Villeneuve just checking a box to appease the dumbasses. Get the fuck off my ass. I changed the character to female. Now get off my ass. Is that how you read it, Wolfie?
Nope.
How did you read it?
I read it as this was a character, regardless. Like I voiced in my my stance on race swapping on a Wednesday stream when we talked about the Batman trailer.
Sure.
And I said this. I said here's the thing. My thing is this. I often don't have no issues with race swapping, depending on the geography or the choice of characters, so long as it's still the character. Like you could, we already had Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent.
Wouldn't it have been great to see him as Two-Face?
Yep.
He would have made a great Two-Face.
So I always point out that as evidence to my claim.
Yeah.
Now, when I looked at Leah Kynes, I was like, okay, this is supposed to be a scientist. It's supposed to be Chinese parent. I'm pretty sure they're not gonna talk about her being the parent, or they're probably gonna omit that. So I'm like, okay.
It seems like that's what they've done. Yeah.
Now, here's one thing I have to appreciate the movie. She was marveled at the fact that an outsider was able to put on the still suit really well. She didn't make no snide comment, no snarky comment. Even when they were talking about Arrakis and the way how the crawlers work, she never condescended them. She never corrected them. She said, "You're a fast learner." She in a way she's saying, "You're a fast learner. You guys are catching on already." Yep. It's like, and isn't she supposed to be like an emissary between? Like a bridge between.
Yeah, she's supposed to be a representative of the Emperor, which puts her in a pretty crappy situation because,
Fremen.
because she's also Fremen, and and this is true to the book too. She's got an affinity. She develops an affinity for the Atreides, so she is honor bound not to do or say anything about what the Emperor is doing. But as Paul points out, she's risking her life to save them, basically because it's the right thing to do. And let's face it, the only thing required for evil to succeed is for good people of conscience to do nothing. I just repeat that because it's so apropos of the current day. But honestly, that's what's so great about the story of Dune. It applies. It's kind of a timeless story. It was appropriate and relevant at the time it was written back in the 60s, and it's every bit as much relevant right fucking now. Hey,
I gotta point out one part that got me going. Yeah, let's go. I need everything that has guns on it off ground now.
That was great. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, let's do this.
The scene Wolfie's talking about is the scene where the Harkonnen and Sardaukar are attacking Arrakeen, and Gurney Halleck has been awakened in the night. The shields have come down, and he's leading his troops out into the courtyard. And that's when he says, I need everything with guns, fire, and then, he takes on a few of the Sardaukar, and he goes, everyone with me, and they charge forward,
okay, they're going to lose, but you know what? Damn it. They're going to lose in fashion.
And there was a little tiny niggling part in the back of my brain saying, hey, Thanos, why don't you just snap your fingers?
I will say this: the way how that battle went, it was like a slow build every single time. Like the more the problem got escalated. I was like, oh my goodness! It's like my heart was sinking for House Atreides. Like you felt the fall of House Atreides.
Yes.
Even at the climax of that whole sequence where you got Paul and Jessica, viewing the whole scenery and the whole.
That was a great shot, right? Where they climb up on that one dune and they look at Arrakeen burning.
Arrakeen, sorry.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, right?
And I like to swing back and point out what you meant when you talk about you couldn't tell what was CGI. The ships.
Oh, guys, I totally buried the lead here, okay? The biggest thing I was looking forward to was the ornithopters. Guys, I got to tell you, there is, of all of the film adaptations of this book, none of them ever got them right until now. It had the sensibilities of an Apache helicopter, but instead of rotors, it was dragonfly wings. Mm-hmm. Honestly, there is a verisimilitude about this technology that totally had me believing it.
Yep.
And Wolfie's right. There's no way they could have done this unless it was CGI, but it didn't look like CGI. There was nothing in this movie. There was no scene where I looked and was pulled out of the movie and said, oh, that's crappy CGI.
No, I was talking about the ship in space where it was like hovering above Arrakis. That lighting, that light above it. And
oh, right. The Highliner? Absolutely. Yeah. Their depiction of the Highliner was very, I want to say Asimovian. If that's not even a word. I just made up a word, Asimovian. But, they were spot on with this. I
was like, did they make a life model and lit that up?
Oh, one other thing I got to mention that I totally glossed over. One other addition to this movie that I kind of did a little smirk and said, oh, I see what you did there to Denis Villeneuve. There's a scene where the Bene Gesserit witch is talking to the Baron Harkonnen, okay? And they're doing their little conspiring. But at the opening of the scene, there is this creature. It's a spider-like creature with human hands and kind of a human head eating from a bowl. And the witch says, tell your creature to leave. It bothers me, or something like that. And he says, don't worry about it. It can't understand your speech. And she uses the voice on it, and she says, leave now. And it starts walking away. She says, it can understand me. And it's clearly a Frankenstein monster of a human made, or humans made into a spider creature. It's clearly an Ixian creation. This does not come from the book. It has never appeared anywhere else. It's another insertion of the Ixians into this movie long before we saw them anywhere. And I thought, this is Denis Villeneuve kind of homaging David Lynch. This is that weird kind of sick shit that you expect from a David Lynch production. And knowing that Vinny Villeneuve is such a Dune fan, you know he has seen the David Lynch film. And other YouTubers have commented on the inspiration that he's drawn from David Lynch that works its way into this movie. That's one I haven't heard yet, and I just wanted to mention it because this is one of those things where it's a reboot or a remake or whatever you want to call it, but it is so lovingly homaging what came before it. I can't be mad at it. I love everything about that, you know?
Did you like the choreography? Did he do a good job of portraying the fights from the book?
Honestly, I especially the shield fights, the knife fights, I'd have to say yes. Honestly, better than the David Lynch version. The David Lynch version was clunky, using CG from the 80s that was very money for nothing, checks for free kind of stuff. Whereas this was very elegant, very clear what they were doing. They did get the lines in about the fast knife and the slow knife and how the shields work. So yeah, I'd have to say, yeah, they did a great job with it. I think where the fight choreography really excels, there's two scenes. There's a future vision where in the books it was referred to as Paul seeing his dark path, the big jihad, right? They don't use the word jihad in this movie, by the way. Should point that out. But there's this fight between the Sardaukar and the Fremen, and I actually kind of lost track of which was which, to be honest with you. But it was really cool. You had this one guy who would like do a barrel roll over the back of another of his opponent and stab someone, and then turn around and stab the guy he just rolled over. I mean, it was really, really, kind of elegant. The other scene that I thought really kind of covered it. Oh, it was intense. Was the final battle between Gurney Halleck and the Sardaukar.
Yeah.
This I don't know if this is a spoiler because it's a part of the story that's pretty clear. He gives his life so that the Lady Jessica and Paul can get away. And they do it in a very great way. He closes the door that cuts off Paul so that he has to fight the Sardaukar alone. And he does a great job. He kills like 5 of them before they stab him in the stomach and he goes down. And you think, that's it, he's done. And then they start trying to cut their way through the door. And then he gets up and starts fighting again. It's like, I'm not dead yet, so I guess I got to keep fighting. And he literally fights until the life leaves his body. And he literally dies fighting.
Was it Gurney in the book?
Yep.
He was my favorite character in this movie.
Yep.
Because that was Duncan in the movie.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say Gurney? I meant Duncan. My apologies, and thank you for correcting me, Wolfie.
He's the sword master, though.
Jason Momoa was my favorite.
Yeah. It was Jason Momoa doing it.
I kind of chuckled when Jason rolls up.
Right. But
he rolls like Jason behind them. I was like, oh man, you kind of.
But I'm telling you,
that stab move, man.
It's very clear that he closes the door behind him, knowing he's going to die. Right? He knows, I'm giving my life to save Paul and Jessica. And then he goes down, but his eyes don't close, and he's still. And then he gets up, and then he yells because he's trying to get their attention. Focus on me. Stop doing what you're doing. And he fights, keeps taking these Sardaukar down until literally the life leaves his body. He is dead, standing on his feet, and then he collapses. Yep. That's intense, right?
I did the salute with him.
I'm at the point where I really think They've got to bring him back three movies from now as the hero, as the Gola, because they set him up just fine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, Troy, I have to bow out for the evening, but
Actually, I need to. Whoop, I just unplugged my earphones, so I can't hear you guys. But since I'm talking, it doesn't really matter that much. I really need to be going too, because I just realized we are at the 2.5 hour mark, which is exactly how long this movie lasted. So I need to wrap it up too.
Are there going to be end credits?
There's not going to be end credits, but those of you that are on the stream with me, I need you to plug what's going on this next week. So let's start with Netter. Actually,
tomorrow night is Big L.
Tomorrow night is Big Al. That's right. And what are we watching tomorrow night on Big Al's Presents?
I don't remember.
The Phantom of the Paradise. He was here with his little icon for it. So we will be all together again, watching that. And then
next week, the Saturday before Halloween, we're going to be watching Troy's Halloween pick, Poltergeist 3, which I am in as an extra.
Yep, I'm kind of looking forward to sharing that with all of you guys. Boomer, what do you got going on coming up this soon?
Sunday we got Geeky Geezers. I will be on tomorrow evening with Big Al and you guys as well for Phantom of the Paradise.
Yep, yes you will. Yes you will.
But yeah, Geeky Geezers on Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to talk about the rather tragic situation that happened on the set of an Alec Baldwin movie and a few other stories. Yeah. We'll I'll be on Wednesday evening. I'll be on with Daniel Heron, Soundtrack Suburban. We'll do The Final Conflict with Sam Neill, the third in the Omen movie.
Oh, you are going on with it. Good for you.
Yep.
Good for you sticking with it.
Okay.
And Wolfie, what you got going on this week?
Working.
Oh,
Kidding.
Yeah.
Kidding. So Tuesday we'll be doing Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust rewatch.
Okay. That's a good one.
For the celebration of Halloween on that one. That's been pre-planned already, so we're going to commit to that. Nothing really big, much aside from the manga reads in the WCR. And preparing for next month, we'll be probably continuing on with the manga reads. And probably not what we're going to do for season 3 of Wolf Commander Rambles.
Cool. All right. So that's the weekend review. Guys, I thank you so much for sticking with me. I super appreciate every Friday. I look forward to Fridays just because of all of you all. I super appreciate it. Hit that like button. Tell your friends about it. I'm at 3/4 of the way to 300. I really want to get to 300 subscribers. That would really make me happy. So if you guys could let your friends know what you do on Friday nights, you listen to this really cool guy, and okay, no, don't say that. That's a lie. You listen to this goofball and his really cool wife, and aged boomer who's okay. Let them know that, and maybe you can get them to come and listen to me and say hi. But
for those of you who are new listening in, I'm still trying to reach my 100 subscriber mark. If you sub and kind of encourage me there, I'd super appreciate it.
Definitely, guys. It's hard. You guys don't realize how hard this YouTube-y type stuff is.
It's like the first 100 is the hardest, they say, and I haven't hit my 100 yet.
But I really
somehow I'm at 125. I reached 125 yesterday.
Yeah, it takes a long time. But guys, I thank you so much. And you know what? Regardless of the milestones, I just enjoy hanging out with you guys. It's so much fun. Everyone, take care. Have a good night.
Night, y'all.
Night.
Good night, ladies.
Good night, sir.
Hit it, sweetheart.